I recently purchased the Ultimate Direction FK Tarp, and in this video I'm going to give you my first impressions of the tarp and a rundown of what the tarp is. I'll put the weight and the price that I paid on the screen. What you get when you buy the Ultimate Direction FK Tarp is the tarp itself with guy lines and cord tensioners attached to those guy lines. You also get 8 DAC pegs. In order to set the shelter up, you do require 2 trekking poles. So far, I've actually been really impressed. It's a structured tarp, so not a flat tarp. It can only really be pitched in one configuration, but that configuration can be made higher or lower to the ground, depending on the weather. And it's very livable, surprisingly. The top of the tent is fairly high up, so even last night when I slept in it with the 2 hiking poles crossed, which is supposed to be better for wind resistance, it was still actually tall enough for me to be able to more or less sit up and change clothes, pack up my gear inside the tarp. The other major downside, of course, of having a tarp as opposed to a tent is that you don't have mesh to protect you from bugs. You do also get a FK bivvy, which has bug mesh over it, but the FK bivvy is almost the same price as the FK tarp. That's quite a substantial amount of money. In the end, I elected not to buy the FK bivvy and instead to buy a ground sheet. I went with the JR Gear ground sheet. I'm hoping that the opportunity to test it in rain happens fairly soon.
Okay. There's some water. I don't know if you can see that. There's some water that's pooled up on the back. I think I must just tighten up these guy lines a bit.
The FK tarp is made of sil nylon, and sil nylon does have a tendency to stretch a bit when it gets wet. You are going to need to retension the guy lines a little bit to get it to keep its taut shape. Because I wasn't at the campgrounds, I didn't do that. And what happens is that the large flat piece of material at the back of the tarp gathers a pool of water, and there were also some smaller pools of water just along the side edges. But as soon as I retensioned the guy lines, those all got pushed off of the tarp and shed, and the tarp itself did not leak at all. The inside was completely dry. I do think that because I had it pitched so low, it did have a tendency to collect rainwater maybe slightly more than it would have if I'd had the trekking poles pitched a little bit higher. Last night I did experience a bit of condensation, just sort of a film across the entire inside of the tarp, and there were like 2 or 3 very minor drips. And this morning I just wiped the whole inside down with my hiking towel and it was completely good to go again. But if you are caught in a rainstorm and you have got the tarp pitched very low, then you definitely can expect to experience a bit of condensation. Something else that you should definitely keep in mind if you have never used a tarp before is that campsite selection is really important. It doesn't really matter how close to the ground or how low you pitch the FK tarp. If you have pitched it in an area where water is going to accumulate, then you are going to wake up in a puddle. Just to test things out a bit, I decided to sleep with my head on the lowest end and my feet towards the door. And surprisingly, it was actually okay. I had a pretty good night's sleep. It was just obviously impossible to sit up straight in that area, so you had to kind of scoot yourself towards the door in order to sit up straight. If you do have a choice, I think it would be better to sleep with your head towards the door and the awning, because that definitely makes it a little bit more livable. In conclusion, I really like the Ultimate Direction FK Tarp, and I'm actually feeling confident enough about it that I would like to go and test it in a more mountainous region. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you'd like to see more from me, then you can click on my channel name to see videos that I've made in the past, or you can subscribe to my channel to see videos that I'm going to make in the future.